The court replaced Maren Thorne's ash breath masks 3 hours before the Dragon Treaty reception because survival looked ugly beside gold. That was the reason no one said aloud. Air Warden Selvic said the old masks were visually unsuitable. The chamber herald called them smoke-stained relics. One foreign envoy's steward laughed and asked if Emberfall intended to greet allied courts dressed like chimney ghosts. By the time Maren reached the lower smoke galleries with a basket of fresh charcoal inserts under one arm, 2 servants were already carrying her masks away from the breathing wall. They looked small in the servants' hands. Plain gray leather, ash cloth vents, blackened nose seams, copper breath rings rubbed dull by years of use. No jewels, no polished crest, no golden dragon mouths shaped for ceremony. Only the marks that mattered: salt lining, ember, filter stitches, soot channels, and the faint blue burn along the inner mouthpiece where poison smoke had been caught before it reached living lungs. The ash breath masks did not choose kings. They did not bless ceremonies. They did not crown the hands that made them. They remembered only breath. Poison caught, salt burned, lungs spared, and any mouthpiece replaced before the smoke it was built to stop. Maren stopped at the gallery threshold. "Put them back," she said. No one obeyed. The lower smoke galleries stretched beneath the treaty hall like the throat of the palace itself. Above, nobles would sit beneath carved dragon balconies, while Dragon King Maeron Dravelle received foreign envoys beneath red gold treaty banners. Below, old vent shafts carried furnace breath, incense heat, and mountain smoke away from the royal chamber. The galleries were supposed to remain unseen, like kitchens, like laundries, like servants who coughed blood quietly enough not to disturb music. Maren knew every vent by sound. East shaft whistled when rain pressed through the mountain. West shaft clicked before sulfur rose. The narrow black vent behind the 4th gallery pillar sighed twice before poison smoke entered the lower air. It had sighed twice that morning. She had come to change the filters. Instead, she found gold. Rows of ceremonial masks hung along the breathing wall where her old ash breath masks had been. They were beautiful. She would give them that. Hammered gold faces, shaped like calm dragons. Thin red silk cords. Polished eye slits. Perfect noses that fit no real servant's face. Their mouths were carved in elegant curves, too narrow to draw a frightened breath. Maren walked to the nearest one and lifted it. Too light. Her stomach tightened. "There is no inner ash cloth," she said. Selvic Dravelle turned from the inspection table as if she had interrupted a prayer. He was tall, silver-haired, and narrow as a blade kept sharp for court use. His Air Warden's collar shone with 7 tiny vent bells, each one polished brighter than any worker's wages. "Because these are ceremonial gallery masks, Thorne, not coal worker muzzles. They are hanging on the breathing wall for distribution during the treaty reception. Then they need to breathe." A few attendants smiled. Not loudly. That would have looked cruel. Selvic's smile was quieter and worse. "Maren, your dedication to ugliness has served the lower galleries well, but foreign envoys will not watch the Dragon King greet allied courts, while servants and nobles alike wear gray scraps that smell of old soot." Maren looked at the golden mask in her hand. Poison. Smoke does not care what foreign envoys prefer. The smile left him. Behind Selvic, 2 junior wardens looked down. They had worn Maren's masks during last winter's vent surge. One of them still had a scar under his jaw, where the mask strap had bitten him while he carried 3 fainting boys out of the lower stair. He did not meet her eyes now. "The decision has been made," Selvic said. "By whom?" The question carried farther than she intended. Across the gallery, the servants lowered the basket of discarded masks. A few nobles' attendants glanced toward the upper stair. Selvic's expression sharpened. "By the king." Maren felt the words enter her like smoke. Not all at once. First the throat, then the chest, then the deeper place where anger had to wait, because breathing came first. Dragon King Maeron Dravelle descended the upper stair with 6 treaty guards behind him. The noise in the gallery thinned. He had not yet taken his place beneath the treaty banners, but the palace had already begun making space for him, as if his shadow carried law. Maeron was tall, black-haired, and severe in a dark ceremonial coat, clasped with red gold dragon scales. His face had the stillness of carved basalt, beautiful only in the way dangerous things could be beautiful. A faint burn scar disappeared beneath the high collar at his throat, pale against brown skin, almost hidden when he stood in shadow. Maren saw him avoid the lower vent draft, only half a step. No one else noticed. She did. Maeron looked at the golden masks, then at the gray pile waiting to be carried out. Air Warden Selvic bowed. "Your Majesty." Maren's eyes moved to Maren. "You are the mask maker." "Maren Thorne," she said. Selvic's mouth tightened at the directness. Maeron's gaze dropped to the mask in her hand. "Air Warden Dravelle tells me the old masks alarmed the envoys. The old masks kept your lower workers alive." Something in the guards stiffened. Selvic stepped forward. "She speaks from attachment, Your Majesty. She has maintained the lower smoke equipment for years and mistakes habit for necessity." Maren looked at Maren. "Give me one breath test." Selvic laughed softly. "The Dragon Treaty reception begins within the hour. One breath," she said. "If the gold mask pulls clean, I will carry mine out myself." Maeron studied her, not kindly, not cruelly, as if she were a problem that had taken human shape in an inconvenient corridor. The 4th pillar vent sighed once. Maren's fingers tightened around the gold mask. Maeron heard the sound. She saw the faint shift in his throat before he controlled it. He knew that sound. Or his body did. Selvic spoke quickly. "Your Majesty, lower gallery drafts always groan before a crowded ceremony. Pressure changes. Nothing more." The vent sighed again. Maren looked at Maren. "That is not crowd pressure." His eyes narrowed. "What is it?" Black vent rise. The junior wardens went pale. Selvic's voice cut hard. "Old superstition." Maren turned the golden mask over and showed Maeron the empty inside. "If black vent rise enters the gallery, these will crack under wet poison. They have no salt layer, no ash cloth, no blue filter seam. They passed inspection," Selvic said, "by a man who does not wear them." That landed badly. The gallery went still. Maeron stepped closer. "Careful." The word was not loud. It did not need to be. Maren felt every guard hear it. Still, she did not lower the mask. "I've been careful for 9 years." Selvic's face hardened. "And yet you stand here accusing the Royal Air Office of endangering the treaty reception because your work was not pretty enough to display." Maren looked at the discarded gray masks. 9 years of smoke. 9 years of servants returning them with shaking hands and whispered thanks. 9 years of washing poison from ashcloth until her own lungs burned at night. 9 years of ugliness doing what beauty refused. "They are not display," she said. "They are breath." Maren looked toward the upper hall, where treaty horns began to call. The sound pressed time into the gallery. Selvic bowed again. "Your Majesty, the old masks have already been removed from the ceremony list. The golden masks are approved. If we delay now, the envoys will see disorder before the treaty is opened." Maeron was silent. Maren watched his hand tighten, once near his collar, close to the hidden scar at his throat. Then his face closed. "Remove the old masks," he said. "Proceed with the reception equipment." Selvic bowed. Maren did not. 2 servants lifted the basket of gray masks. The 4th pillar vent gave a 3rd sigh. This time, the sound came wet. Maren turned toward it. A thin black ribbon of smoke slipped from the vent seam and curled along the gallery wall. No one saw it at first because everyone was watching her lose. Then the nearest golden mask cracked. A fine line split down its beautiful dragon mouth. Selvic froze. The black smoke thickened, pouring from the fourth pillar vent in a low, oily wave. It slid beneath the gold masks, climbed the breathing wall, and touched the polished mouths one by one. Crack, crack, crack. The lower attendants began coughing. Above them, treaty music swelled. Maren took one breath and stopped. Maren saw the pain flash across his face before he mastered it. The discarded basket shifted in the servant's arms. One gray ash-breath mask rolled free. It struck the black stone floor. The old copper breath ring glowed blue. Then the mask inhaled. The black smoke bent toward the gray leather instead of the golden mouths. Maeron looked from the cracked ceremonial masks to Selvic Dravele's polished Air Warden collar. His voice did not soften. "What entered my lower galleries before the ceremony began?" Selvic Dravelle answered, before the old mask drew its second breath. "Lower. Gallery pressure," he said. Nothing more. The gray ash-breath mask lay on the black stone floor between the cracked golden mouths and the widening ribbon of smoke. Its copper breath ring glowed blue, faint at first, then brighter as the smoke bent toward it. Not all the smoke, not the incense haze from the upper hall, not the clean warmth from the treaty lamps, only the black thread crawling from the fourth pillar vent. Maren Thorne watched the bend before she watched the king. Men lied with their faces. Smoke did not. Dragon King Maeron Dravelle stood beneath the lower stair, one hand near the high collar that hid the old burn at his throat. His expression had not softened. The pain from his first breath had already vanished behind royal control, but Maren had seen it. The gallery had seen only the king straighten. "What entered my lower galleries before the ceremony began?" he asked. Selvic bowed slightly. "Common black vent rise, your majesty. Large ceremonies disturb old shafts. Heat above, furnace draft below, mountain damp behind the walls. It looks dramatic to those who maintain equipment too closely." Maren did not look at him kindly. "If it were common rise, your gold masks would fog." Selvic turned. "And if it were poison? Smoke? They would crack." A cough broke from one of the lower attendants. Then another. The treaty music above swelled, bright and ceremonial, while the unseen workers beneath it pressed sleeves to their mouths. Maeron looked toward the sound. Maren had already moved. She crossed to the discarded basket and took out 3 gray masks. Selvic stepped into her path. "The reception masks are approved." Maren looked at the coughing servants behind him. "Approved lungs can still stop breathing." Selvic's face sharpened. "You will not distribute rejected equipment during a Dragon Treaty reception." Maren held the masks tighter. "Then stop me after they breathe." A guard moved. Maren did not tell him to stop. Not yet. Maren saw that too. A question after smoke did not become protection simply because it came from a king. She turned away from both men and gave the first mask to the youngest servant nearest the wall, a boy whose eyes were already watering black at the rims. The second went to the woman kneeling beside a fallen tray of treaty cups. The third she pressed into the hands of the junior warden with the scar beneath his jaw. "Salt side inward," she said. "Breathe through the copper ring. Do not pull hard. Let it take the first poison." The boy obeyed. The old mask inhaled against his face. The blue ring flared. His coughing eased. Only then did the court around them understand enough to become afraid. Selvic's voice cut low. "You just placed unapproved gear on treaty staff." Maren looked at him. "They are breathing." Maeron's gaze moved from the boy to the cracked golden masks. "Why did the gold fail first?" Selvic answered instantly. "Because gold is rigid. The old leather flexes. It is material difference, not poison." Maren lifted one of the cracked ceremonial masks from the wall. The golden dragon mouth had split down the center, and a wet black line crawled through the break like oil in a wound. "No," she said. "Common smoke stains gray. Poison smoke eats gold first. The words struck the gallery harder than the coughs. Selvic's mouth tightened. A lower worker's saying. A lower worker's survival. Maren turned the gold mask toward Maeron. Look at the mouth split. Wet edges, black center, no ashcloth to slow it, no salt lining to dry it, no blue filter seam to pull the poison apart. Maren stepped closer, stopping just outside the densest smoke. Read the old one. Maren looked at him. Still no softness. Still the man who had ordered her masks removed, because the court preferred gold. She picked up the ash breath mask from the floor. Its copper ring glowed blue. Along the inner seam, the salt lining had burned white in 3 small crescents. Salt lining caught wet poison, she said. Not dry soot. Not crowd draft. The mask inhaled again. Blue light moved through the ember filter stitches like veins waking under dead leather. Maren turned it slightly. Blue filter seam pulled against the 4th pillar draft. That means the poison came from the wall behind that vent, not from the upper hall. Selvic gave a controlled laugh. The 4th pillar vent groans before every large gathering. Maren looked at him. Groans. Yes. Sighs twice, when pressure rises. Sighs wet, when poison enters. Maeron's eyes narrowed. You heard 3 sighs. I heard 2 before I reached the gallery, she said. The 3rd when your men lifted my masks away. Selvic said. Coincidence. Maren pointed to the old mask's salt lining. Then coincidence has teeth. The black smoke thickened along the breathing wall. The golden masks cracked one by one in a crooked row. Their beautiful dragon mouths split open without drawing a single clean breath. Crack, crack, crack. Above them, treaty horns called the first envoy procession. Below, servants covered their mouths and tried not to panic loudly enough to shame the hall. Maren took 2 more gray masks from the basket. A noble attendant reached for one. Maren pulled it back and gave it to a kitchen runner whose lips had begun to darken. The attendant stared at her. I serve, Lord Veyrath. She serves breath, Maren said. Maeron heard that. So did Selvic. The king's face hardened, but not at her this time. He looked at the basket. How many old masks remain? Not enough, Maren said. Selvic seized on that. Because they are obsolete, they were never meant for a full treaty crowd. They were meant for the people stationed where smoke reaches first. That is precisely why the new masks were commissioned. Maren looked at the gold line of broken dragon mouths. Pretty does not mean commissioned for breath. The old mask in her hand inhaled a 3rd time. This time, the blue ring did not only glow, it pulsed toward the breathing wall. Maren went still. Maeron saw it. What? She did not answer quickly. The mask could not speak. It could only react. It remembered breath. Poison caught, salt burned, lungs spared, and any mouthpiece replaced before the smoke it was built to stop. The pulse moved once toward the 4th pillar vent, then backward, toward the empty hooks where the golden masks had been installed. Maren's throat tightened. Selvic stepped closer. Do not turn a filter reaction into prophecy. No, Maren said. Not prophecy. She lifted the mask and showed Maeron the blue seam. The light had burned in a clean line across the copper ring, then stopped at a dark smear caught under the lower edge. Installation trace, she said. Maeron looked at the smear. Meaning? The old masks were removed after poison entered the wall. Selvic's voice sharpened. Impossible. Maren's gaze did not leave the ring. No. Worse. The gray mask inhaled once more, drawing black smoke through its blue seam. The wet poison pattern brightened along the salt lining, then settled into order. Vent sigh, 4th pillar draft, old filter warning, replacement trace, golden mouth crack. It did not name Selvic. It did not save Maeron. It did not forgive the court for choosing gold. It showed sequence. The blue ring flared, and a line of pale fire burned across the cracked golden masks. Black vent rise entered before golden masks were installed. The lower smoke gallery fell silent except for the coughing. Selvic's face went still. Maren looked from the old mask in Maren's hand to the fourth pillar vent still leaking black smoke. His voice did not soften. Who cleared that wall for ceremony use? The wall clearance seal on Selvic's collar gave one small guilty ring. Selvic Dravelle touched the ringing seal at his collar, as if silence could be pressed back into metal. The tiny vent bell gave one last guilty tremor beneath his fingers, bright silver against the polished Air Warden collar, then went still. Around him, the lower smoke gallery filled with coughing that the treaty music above could not quite bury. Black smoke slipped from the fourth pillar vent in a low ribbon, bending toward Maren Thorne's gray ash-breath mask and away from the cracked golden mouths. Dragon King Maeron Dravelle looked at the collar seal. His voice did not soften. Who cleared that wall for ceremony use? Selvic lowered his hand. Wall clearances are routine before treaty gatherings, Your Majesty. Old filter warnings are often logged before final inspection. A vent may warn at dawn and settle by noon. Maren did not look at him kindly. A warning can settle, poison does not. The old mask in her hand inhaled again. Blue light moved across the copper breath ring, then stopped at the salt lining in 3 burned crescents. The servant boy wearing the first mask drew a shaky breath and stayed upright. The kitchen runner with darkened lips clutched hers as if it were a holy thing. Maren hated that. It was not holy. It was work. Work the court had replaced with gold. Maeron's eyes moved from the breathing servants to the fourth pillar vent. Show me the clearance. Selvic's expression tightened. The wall clearance slate is kept in the lower maintenance rack. Bring it. A junior warden hesitated. Selvic turned his head slightly. The man stopped. Maren saw it. So did Maren. The king's gaze sharpened. Now, the junior warden hurried to the black iron rack beside the west stair and returned with a narrow slate, scarred by years of chalk, soot, and inspection marks. He held it out to Selvic first. Maren almost laughed. Even choking, the gallery knew whose hands were supposed to hold proof. Maeron took the slate instead. Not apology. Not trust. Only possession of the record he should have demanded before approving ceremony masks. Selvic bowed. You will find everything proper. Fourth pillar inspected. Wall pressure measured. Ceremonial equipment approved. Maren looked at the old mask's blue seam. Proper marks can sit over dangerous ones. Selvic's mouth hardened. You see danger wherever your work is not praised. No, she said. I see where people stop breathing. The words cut through another round of coughing. Maren held the slate near the old mask. Can it read this? The mask does not read slates, Maren said. It reacts to breath traces. Selvic seized on it. Then this is meaningless. Maren looked at him. No, it means I read the slate, and the mask reads whether the slate is lying about the air. The copper ring pulsed once. Maren lowered the maintenance slate toward the fourth pillar draft. The black smoke curled across its surface, staining one corner wet and dark. Maren stepped closer, but not beside the king. She would not let a few questions turn into nearness. Fourth pillar maintenance line, she said. There. Maren tilted the slate. The line showed 3 marks: a morning pressure check, a filter warning, and a final clearance seal. Selvic spoke smoothly. As stated, a warning, followed by final clearance. Maren's eyes narrowed. The warning is old filter blue. The junior warden with the scar under his jaw flinched. Selvic looked at him once. The man went still. Maeron noticed the exchange but did not soften. What does old filter blue mean? Maren lifted the mask in her hand. It means the ashcloth caught something wet before inspection. Not enough to flood the gallery yet. Enough to mark the filter. Danger? Maeron asked. Warning. Selvic exhaled. Exactly. Warnings are not failures. Many vents warn and settle. Maren turned the cracked golden mask in her other hand, so the wet black line gleamed inside its broken mouth. A warning can settle. Poison does not. The old mask inhaled. The blue ring brightened toward the slate. Not to the final clearance seal. To the old filter warning. Maren's stomach tightened. "Inspection time," she said. Maeron looked down. "Where?" She pointed to a small notch beside the warning mark. "Fourth bell after dawn." Selvic nodded at once. "And final clearance was 6 bell. Proper interval." "No." Maren touched nothing, only leaned near enough to see the soot edge. "The final clearance seal is written over a wet poison stain." Selvic's face sharpened. "Slate stains in lower galleries constantly. Dry soot stains wide, wet poison stains narrow, then eats the chalk from below." Maeron looked at the seal. "And this?" The chalk edge is hollow. The old mask pulsed again. The copper ring released a thread of blue light, thin as breath in winter, and it passed over the maintenance slate without burning it. Where it crossed the final clearance seal, the chalk paled. Beneath it, a dark crescent appeared. The junior warden whispered, "Old filter warning." Selvic turned on him. "Silence." Maren looked at the man. "No. Breathe." That was all she could give him. Permission to live louder than fear. Maeron's hand tightened around the slate. Was the wall cleared after this warning? Selvic answered before Maren could. Yes, because final inspection found the vent stable. Maren took the golden mask from the wall hook and held it near the 4th pillar draft. The black smoke touched the split mouth. The crack widened. Stable vents do not eat gold. Selvic stepped closer. "Gold is not a diagnostic tool." "No," Maren said. "It is what you used after removing one." The ash breath mask inhaled hard. The smoke bent toward it, and the salt lining burned white along the inner seam. A pattern formed there. Wet poison stain, old filter warning, inspection time, wall clearance seal. Not accusation. Not rescue. Sequence. Maren read it carefully. The filter warning was recorded before the wall clearance. Selvic gave a cold smile. "Of course. That is what inspection does. It records warning, then clears if safe." The clearance seal was placed after the warning, but before the stain dried. His smile vanished. Maeron looked at her. "Meaning, the poison was still active when the wall was cleared." The lower smoke gallery tightened around the sentence. Above them, treaty horns called the second envoy line. Below, servants breathed through old gray leather, while nobles' attendants stared at broken gold. Selvic lifted his chin. Even if wet residue remained, the flow could have been judged manageable. Treaty pressure requires decisions. A lower gallery cannot hold the kingdom hostage every time a vent behaves poorly. Maren looked at the coughing workers, then at Maeron. Not softly. You let him call breath delay. Maeron's face did not change, but the old scar under his collar seemed paler in the blue furnace glow. The ash breath mask inhaled once more. The maintenance slate shuddered in Maeron's hand. The hollow chalk under the clearance seal burned blue-white, then settled into a single line across the 4th pillar entry. Wall cleared after old filter warning was recorded. Selvic's face went still. Maren looked from the burning slate to the smoke still leaking through the wall. His voice did not soften. "Who inspected the 4th pillar after the warning?" The wall clearance seal on Selvic's collar rang again. This time, every worker heard it. The junior warden with the scar under his jaw stopped breathing through his mask. Not because the gray leather failed, because fear had remembered him before smoke could. Maren Thorne saw his hands tighten around the copper breath ring, saw the old habit of obedience drag his eyes toward Selvic Dravelle before his lungs asked for air. She stepped close enough to block Selvic from his view. "Breathe," she said again. The young man did. The mask inhaled with him, blue ring pulsing once against his cheek. Dragon King Maeron Dravelle held the 4th pillar maintenance slate in one hand. The line across it still glowed pale blue. Wall cleared after old filter warning was recorded. The wall clearance seal on Selvic's collar had rung twice now. The tiny vent bells along his throat sat polished and bright, too clean for a man responsible for air. Maren looked at him. His voice did not soften. Who inspected the fourth pillar after the warning? Selvic bowed with careful patience. Inspection was performed under lower air office procedure, Your Majesty. Wall clearances pass through several hands. A warning may be checked by one warden, confirmed by another, and sealed by the office. That was not my question. Maren did not look at Maeron kindly. A king asking the question properly now did not change the fact that he had approved gold over breath earlier. Selvic turned slightly toward the coughing servants, as if their suffering were background noise to his explanation. The fourth pillar was judged stable. The inspection mark proves it. Maren looked at the slate. The inspection mark proves someone wrote stability. Selvic's eyes cut to her. And what would you know of inspection seals? I know which ones are afraid of smoke. The old ash breath mask in her hand inhaled again. Its blue seam pulled toward the maintenance slate, then toward the fourth pillar vent. The black smoke still leaked from the wall in a slow, wet ribbon. Not enough to flood the gallery at once. Enough to punish every delay. Maeron lowered the slate toward Maren. Read the inspection mark. Selvic stepped forward. Your Majesty, lower workers do not read office marks. Maren looked at him. Lower workers die under office marks. The words cut through the gallery. Above them, treaty music rose brighter, unaware that the hall beneath it had become a breathing test. Maren leaned toward the slate without touching it. The inspection mark sat beside the clearance seal, a neat white slash crossed with a small vent hook. At first glance it looked proper, but proper was often where danger hid. The chalk was too clean, the hook too sharp. Lower gallery wardens wrote with smudged hands because the walls sweated. This mark had been made by someone whose fingers had not stood near the vent. Upper chalk, she said. Selvic laughed softly. Now, chalk has rank? Yes. Maeron's eyes narrowed. Explain. Lower gallery chalk sweats at the edge, Maren said. It pulls damp from the wall. Upper office chalk stays sharp, because it never touches vent heat. The scarred junior warden breathed harder behind his mask. Selvic noticed. Maren noticed Selvic noticing. Ask him, she said. The young warden went pale around the eyes. Selvic's voice sharpened. Do not drag frightened staff into your performance. Maren turned to him. You dragged them into poison. The fourth pillar vent sighed. Vet. Closer now. The old mask in Maren's hand pulsed blue. The salt lining burned in 4 bright points instead of 3. Her stomach tightened. Filter rack, she said. Maeron looked toward the breathing wall. What about it? Maren crossed to the rack beneath the golden masks. The lowest shelf held spare ceremonial cords, polished hooks, red silk ties, and a shallow tray where filter packs should have sat. It was empty. Selvic spoke quickly. Replacement filters were moved during installation. Where? To storage. Maren looked at him. Safe filters are not stored away from the wall they serve. Selvic's face hardened. You are not Air Warden. No, she said. I am the one who knows which shelf should not be empty when smoke arrives. Maren stepped closer to the rack. The black smoke thinned around him, but Maren saw the smallest catch in his breath. His hidden scar was not only cosmetic. The lower galleries hurt him more than he wanted the court to know. Good, she thought bitterly. Let him feel one breath of what servants waded through. Then she hated herself for the thought. Because lungs did not deserve politics. The ash breath mask inhaled again and turned its blue pulse toward the empty filter tray. Old filter warning, Maren said. Wall clearance. Inspection mark. Empty filter rack. Selvic lifted his chin. Filters are changed after warning if needed. The rack being empty proves replacement. No, Maren said. A changed filter leaves spent ash cloth. The tray remained clean. Too clean. No spent cloth, she said. No replacement. The scarred junior warden whispered through his mask. I was told not to pull the fourth pillar pack. Selvic turned on him. Silence. Maeron did not look away from the young man. "Say it again." The junior warden's eyes filled with terror. Maren stepped beside him, not touching, not comforting, only standing close enough that Selvic could not own the space. He breathed once through the mask. "I logged the old filter warning at 4th bell. I asked for a replacement pack. The upper office marked the wall cleared before the pack was issued." Selvic's face went very still. Maeron looked at Maren. "Can the mask show that order?" "It can show breath order," she said. "Not guilt." Selvic seized the word. "Then this remains accusation." Maren held the ash breath mask toward the empty rack. "No, it remains air." The mask inhaled. The blue seam flared across the salt lining, then down the copper ring, then toward the maintenance slate. Smoke bent through the 4th pillar draft, touched the empty filter tray, and recoiled from the polished golden masks as if refusing their useless beauty. The slate shuddered, the inspection mark hollowed from inside. The upper chalk / burned away first. Beneath it, the old filter warning remained. Beside it, the empty replacement mark did not fill. Sequence, not confession, not rescue. The mask had remembered what the wall breathed before the court dressed it in gold. A line of blue fire burned across the maintenance slate. 4th pillar cleared, without safe filter replacement. The lower smoke gallery fell into a silence, broken only by the old masks breathing against servant faces. Selvic's jaw tightened. Maren looked from the empty filter rack to the polished Air Warden collar. His voice did not soften. "Where are the safe filters now?" Selvic Dravelle answered before the smoke reached the second stair. "The safe filters are in reserve," he said. "Upper reserve, Your Majesty. Moved to protect them during ceremonial installation." Maren Thorne looked at the empty filter rack, then at the old ash breath mask in her hand. The copper ring glowed blue against her soot-dark fingers, drawing the black poison smoke through its salt lining in slow, measured breaths. Around her, the workers who had received the old masks were breathing. Not easily, not safely enough, but breathing. Those without masks were beginning to fold. A cupbearer sank against the wall. A stairboy leaned over both knees. One treaty runner pressed her sleeve to her mouth, while tears streaked black down her cheeks. Maren reached into the discarded basket again. A noble attendant stepped forward. "My lord needs one." Maren gave the mask to the treaty runner instead. The attendant stared. "He is above stairs." "She is in the smoke." Dragon King Maeron Dravelle heard that. His face did not soften, but his eyes moved from the runner to the noble's stare, then back to the workers closest to the vent. The scar beneath his collar had gone pale again. He was breathing shallowly now, keeping his chest still by force. Maren saw it. So did Selvic. "Your Majesty," Selvic said quickly, "you should take one of the remaining masks until the upper hall is cleared." Maren held the next mask against her chest. Maren looked at it. For one breath, the hidden injury in his throat made him only a man standing in poison. Then Maren's voice cut across that fragile moment. "Can you wait as long as your servants did?" The lower smoke gallery went still. A guard's hand moved toward his sword. Maeron lifted one finger. The guard stopped. Not forgiveness, not tenderness. A command keeping pride from making the air worse. Maren looked at Maren. "Give it to the next worker." She did. The mask inhaled against an old lampman's face, and the blue ring brightened. Selvic's jaw tightened. "Sentiment will not clear the vent." "No," Maren said. "Filters will." Maren turned to him. "We're in upper reserve." Selvic bowed slightly. "North air closet. Sealed under ward office authority." Maren looked at the empty rack. "Then there should be transfer dust." Selvic's eyes sharpened. "Dust?" "Safe filters are packed in ash cloth sleeves. When moved properly, they leave gray salt dust on the rack lip." She ran one finger just above the wooden edge, without touching the poison-stained air. "Clean. Too clean. No dust," she said. Selvic gave a controlled laugh. Because the rack was cleaned for the Dragon Treaty reception. Safe filter racks are not cleaned bare before event warning. They were not needed here after the golden masks were approved. The golden masks do not filter vents. They protect faces. They decorate faces. The fourth pillar vent exhaled. Wet smoke rolled low across the floor. The old masks pulled what they could, blue rings flickering as they worked harder than old leather should have been asked to work. The golden masks along the wall hung cracked and useless, their mouths split open like beautiful lies. Maeron held up the maintenance slate. Is filter transfer recorded there? No, Maren said. Transfer is on the rack tag. Selvic stepped between her and the filter shelf. Rack tags are handled by wardens. Maren looked at him. So were the masks. The sentence made the scarred junior warden lower his head. Maeron saw the movement. Step aside, Dravelle, Selvic did, slowly. Maren crouched before the empty rack. Beneath the lowest shelf hung a narrow copper tag, tarnished at the corners, stamped with filter counts and vent assignments. Most courtiers would have seen scratches. Maren saw breath inventory. 4th pillar pack, she said. 3 safe filters assigned, 1 active, 2 reserve. Maeron looked at the empty tray. And now? No active, no reserve, Selvic said. Because all 3 were moved. Maren pointed to the tag's lower notch. If moved to upper reserve, the notch bends upward. The notch bent down. No one spoke. The old mask in Maren's hand inhaled. Blue light moved through the copper ring and touched the rack tag. A small stain appeared under the downward notch, dark green at the edge. Maren's throat tightened. That is not upper reserve trace. Selvic's face remained composed. Storage stains vary. No, she said. Upper reserve uses dry cedar ash. This is vent oil. Maeron's gaze sharpened. Where does vent oil mark go? Maren looked toward the narrow service door behind the 4th pillar. Transit, Selvic cut in. Many crates pass through lower air corridors. Maren stood. Not carrying safe filters during a wet warning. The old mask pulsed again. Its salt lining burned white, then blue, then white again. The pattern settled into order across the copper tag. Old filter warning, empty rack, downward transfer notch, vent oil stain. It did not name Selvic. It did not rescue the court. It did not forgive gold for being useless. It showed handling. Maren read the sequence aloud. The safe filters were removed from the 4th pillar rack after the old warning, but they were not moved to upper reserve. Selvic's voice cooled. You cannot know destination from a rack tag. No, Maren said. But I can know a lie from a notch. Maeron looked toward the service door. Open it. Selvic moved too quickly. Your Majesty, that corridor vents directly into the lower pipeway. Opening it during smoke could worsen the spread. Maren looked at him. Only if the pipeway is full. The king's eyes shifted to her. She did not soften. Which it should not be if the filters are in reserve. For the first time, Selvic said nothing. Maren stepped toward the service door himself. The smoke thickened around his boots. His throat tightened. Maren saw the pain cross his face again. This time, he did not hide it quickly enough. She almost reached for a mask. Almost. Then she remembered him ordering hers removed. She gave the mask in her hand to a coughing lower scribe instead. Maeron watched the choice. He did not punish it. That mattered. Not enough. But it mattered. A guard opened the service door. Black smoke did not rush out. Cold air did. Clean. Too clean. Maren stepped closer and looked through the gap. The pipeway beyond was empty except for drag marks across the dust and a smear of dark green vent oil on the threshold. The old mask in the scribe's hands inhaled hard. The copper ring flashed blue toward the doorway. The rack tag shuddered. Then a line of blue-white fire burned across the empty shelf. Safe filters removed from lower gallery rack before ceremonial masks were approved. Selvic's face went still. Maeron looked from the empty pipeway to the cracked golden masks. His voice did not soften. Who signed the filter transfer? Selvic Dravelle answered, while the blue fire still burned across the empty shelf. Filter transfers are signed by lower ward clerks, he said. Routine movement, Your Majesty. The Air Office does not personally sign every pack of ash cloth carried through a service door. The old masks kept breathing. That was the only mercy in the lower smoke gallery. Maren Thorne counted the sound without meaning to. One mask against the servant boy's face, one against the kitchen runners, one against the scarred junior wardens, one against the lower scribe's trembling mouth. 4 old masks pulling poison from air that golden dragon faces had only made beautiful before breaking. Not enough. Never enough. Dragon King Maeron Dravelle stood near the open service door, with black smoke gathering around his boots and clean, cold air beyond it. His throat scar had gone pale beneath the high collar. He looked at Selvic. His voice did not soften. Who signed the filter transfer? Selvic bowed slightly. The rack tag will show the responsible hand. Maren looked at him then. Too easy. He wanted the tag read now. That meant the first answer would not be his. She turned back to the empty rack. Do not ask the tag to name first. Maren's eyes moved to her. Why? Because names are the last place a careful lie sits. Selvic's mouth tightened. Another lower gallery proverb? No, Maren said. A rule learned from men who sign clean after workers carry danger. The old mask in the lower scribe's hands inhaled hard, and its copper ring pulsed toward the rack tag. The blue light touched the downward notch, then slid along the edge of the copper strip until a small mark appeared near the bottom. Maren's chest tightened. Her mark, not her full name. The thorn-cut initial she used on filter checks when a pack had been tested by breath, salt, and ember seam. 2 slanted strokes and a small hook. Simple. Practical. Easy to dismiss. Easy to copy. Selvic exhaled as if saddened. There. Maren Thorne signed the transfer. The gallery shifted toward her. Even through smoke, suspicion knew how to breathe. Maren did not move. Maren looked at the mark. Not gently. Not condemning. Waiting for the next part of the air to be read. That hurt worse than accusation, because she wanted it to matter that he waited. It could not. Not yet. Maren lifted one soot-stained finger and held it above the mark without touching. That is my inspection mark, not my transfer mark. Selvic gave a soft laugh. How convenient that your own signature becomes something else when it appears on missing filters. My transfer mark has a closed hook. She pointed to the glowing strokes. This hook is open. A hurried hand, a copied hand. The scarred junior warden breathed too fast through his mask. Maren glanced at him. Slowly. Let the ring take the first poison. He obeyed. Maeron noticed. Selvic did too. The Air Warden stepped toward the rack tag. Your Majesty. She is buying time while smoke spreads. No, Maren said. Smoke already bought time for whoever moved the filters. The 4th pillar vent exhaled again. Wet. Black. The golden masks cracked wider along the wall, their useless mouths opening without breath. Maeron's jaw tightened. What proves the mark was copied? Pressure, Maren said. My inspection mark is made when the filter is still in the rack. It presses through ash dust. A transfer mark is made after removal. It bites bare copper. Selvic said. And this? Maren looked at the mark's edge. Too clean for ash. Too shallow for transfer. The old mask in her hand inhaled once from the smoke near the shelf. Blue light flowed over the copper tag and stopped beneath the open hook. A second line appeared there, faint and gray. Maren's throat burned. Lift mark, she said. Maren stepped closer. Meaning? Someone pressed wax over my inspection mark and lifted the shape, then stamped it again after the rack was cleared. Selvic's face chilled. Absurd. Maren looked at him. No. Polished. That word struck him because it belonged to his world, not hers. A lower worker stole scraps. A court officer polished theft until it looked like procedure. Maren looked at the open service door. Can it show where the filters went? The tag can show handling, Maren said. The mask can show breath trace. Not destination. Selvic seized on it. Then we are done. Maren ignored him and turned toward the threshold. But the vent oil can show whether they were carried to reserve or out of the gallery. The safe filters should have smelled of salt, ash, and bitter charcoal. The stain on the threshold smelled sharper, green and mineral, like pipe grease used on cargo locks. She knelt beside the service door. A guard reached as if to pull her back from the spreading smoke. Maren stopped him with one look. Maren did not thank him. She touched nothing. She only held the old mask near the smear. The copper breath ring flared blue, then dimmed to a narrow line pointing down the service corridor. Not up toward reserve. Down, toward the lower vent cart passage. Maren's stomach turned cold. Cargo route, she said. Selvic answered too quickly. Old drag marks. This gallery has carried equipment for centuries, not with fresh filter oil. Maren looked at the service corridor. What uses the lower vent cart passage today? Selvic's silence lasted half a breath too long. The scarred junior warden answered through his mask, voice thin. Treaty supply carts, Your Majesty. Envoy equipment. Decorative vent braziers. Air office crates. Selvic turned on him. You have said enough. Maren stood between them again. He has breathed enough fear for one morning. The old mask in her hand pulsed toward the service corridor. Its salt lining burned white along one seam, then blue across the ring, then settled into order. Old filter warning. Rack cleared. Copied inspection mark. Vent oil stain. Cargo route. It did not name Selvic. It did not clear Maren. It did not make Maren innocent of approving gold. It showed handling. A blue-white line burned across the copper rack tag. Maren Thorne's inspection mark, copied after safe filters, left the lower gallery. The coughing seemed louder after that. Selvic's face went still. Maeron looked from the copied mark to the service corridor disappearing beneath the treaty hall. His voice did not soften. Which air office crate left by that passage? Selvic Dravelle looked toward the service corridor, as if the darkness below it had become impolite. The passage ran beneath the lower smoke gallery, in a narrow black throat, built for vent carts, filter crates, ash bins, and the kind of work that kept treaty halls breathing without ever appearing in songs. Cold air moved from it now, too clean against the poison leaking from the fourth pillar. Clean meant opened. Clean meant emptied. Clean meant something had left before smoke arrived. Dragon King Maeron Dravelle stood beside the service door, with the broken golden masks behind him, and Maren Thorne's old ash-breath masks breathing against servant faces around him. His voice did not soften. Which air office crate left by that passage? Selvic bowed. Several crates move before a dragon treaty reception. Your Majesty. Decorative vent braziers, envoy incense stands, spare silk screens, corridor bell housings. The air office prepares atmosphere as well as safety. Maren did not look at him kindly. Atmosphere is what men call air, when someone else has to breathe it. The old mask in her hand inhaled once, copper ring glowing blue. The lower scribe wearing one of the masks steadied. The servant boy no longer coughed, but his hands still shook around the straps. The kitchen runner's eyes were red and wet, and Maren had no mask left to give the maid beside her. Not enough. That truth pressed harder than smoke. Maren noticed the empty basket. Selvic noticed him noticing. This is why standardized ceremonial equipment was necessary. Her old stock was insufficient for treaty scale. Maren looked at the cracked gold mouths. Your new stock was insufficient for one breath. A faint stir moved through the gallery. Maeron looked toward the corridor. Where is the crate list? Selvic's answer came smoothly. At the upper air desk. No, Maren said. Selvic's eyes cut to her. She pointed to the service door threshold. Crates leaving lower vent passage carry chalk drag on the floor. The upper desk records what should have moved. The floor records what did. Maren looked down. At first, the black stone showed only smoke damp and boot marks. Then, the old mask in Maren's hand inhaled again. The copper ring flared, and blue light ran low across the floor, catching on 2 long scrape marks beneath the doorway. Parallel, heavy, fresh. Vent cart, Maren said. Selvic folded his hands. Vent carts move every hour before a reception, not with sealed filter weight. Maeron's eyes narrowed. How can you tell weight from a scrape? Light crates chatter, Maren said. Filter crates drag steady. Ash cloth packs are dense when sealed. Selvic gave a thin laugh. Now wood remembers burden. No, she said. Stone does. The service corridor sighed cold air. Not wet. Not poison. Empty passage breath. Maren knelt near the scrape marks, careful not to put her face below the smoke line. Her lungs burned anyway. They always burned now, deep where years of cleaning poison from filter seams had left a private ache no court physician had ever been asked to name. She lifted the mask near the floor. The blue ring pulsed toward one scrape, then the other, then stopped at a small smear caught in a chipped stone seam. Dark green vent oil. Beside it, something paler. Maren's throat tightened. Salt, dust. Selvic's face hardened. Old residue. Fresh salt dust clings and points. Old dust smears flat. Maeron lowered himself enough to see. The movement drew black smoke near his collar. His breath caught once. Barely. Maren saw it. She did not offer him the mask. Not while servants still shared breath in pieces. He saw that too, and did not ask. That mattered. Not enough. The blue pulse from the mask brightened. The salt dust formed 3 tiny crescents along the scrape line. Safe filter packing, Maren said. 4th pillar size. Selvic's voice cut in. Many filters share salt packing. Not this crescent width. She pointed to the 3rd crescent. 4th pillar mouth is narrower than west shaft. I cut those linings myself, because the wall turns crooked behind the old brick. Maren looked at her. You made the filters too? I repaired what the office stopped ordering properly. Selvic stepped forward. She exaggerates her role. Workers patch supplies constantly. Maren stood. Patching is what happens after budgets prefer gold. The 4th pillar vent coughed black smoke. The old masks inhaled harder. The blue rings on the servants' faces flared in uneven rhythm, pulling poison too quickly now. The salt linings would not last long. Maren looked toward the upper stair, where treaty horns were calling again. If the crate carried safe filters, where did it go? Maren looked down the corridor. Crate marks carry bell dust if they pass the upper air desk. This one does not. Selvic's expression sharpened. Maren followed the scrape line to the first bend. There, in the soot near the wall, a faint red-gold powder glimmered. Not air office chalk, not filter dust. Envoy freight wax, she said. The gallery stilled. Selvic answered too quickly. Envoy freight passes everywhere during treaty day, not through lower vent cart passage without a clearance cord. Maren looked at Selvic. Was a clearance cord issued? Selvic bowed. Likely. The day has many moving pieces. Maren looked at him. Air does not survive, likely. The old mask in her hand inhaled. Blue light ran from the salt dust to the red-gold wax, then pulled back toward the empty rack. Building order across the floor. Old filter warning. Rack cleared. Copied inspection mark. Service passage. Filter weight drag. Envoy freight wax. It did not name Selvic. It did not open the crate. It did not give Maren more masks. It showed route. The line of blue fire burned low across the service threshold. Safe filter crate left through Envoy freight route before worker masks were issued. Selvic's polished collar bells went still. Too still. Maren looked from the blue line to the coughing workers, then to the golden masks split open on the wall. His voice did not soften. Which envoy received Air Office freight from my lower galleries? Selvic Dravelle looked toward the upper hall before he looked at the king. That was Maren Thorne's first answer. The treaty music above had changed. The first envoy procession was no longer waiting at the doors. It was moving. Polished boots, silk hems, jeweled masks, and foreign banners would soon pass over a lower gallery where servants were breathing through scraps of gray leather because gold had cracked in poison. Dragon King Maeron Dravelle stood beside the service threshold with smoke at his boots and the broken golden masks behind him. His voice did not soften. Which envoy received Air Office freight from my lower galleries? Selvic bowed with careful offense. Your Majesty, envoy freight is handled through treaty couriers. The Air Office may provide atmospheric equipment, incense screens, vent ornaments, and ceremonial comfort filters. Such exchanges are not unusual. Maren looked at him. Safe filters are not ornaments. Selvic turned. Nor are they yours. No, she said. They belonged to the wall. The old ash breath mask in her hand inhaled sharply. Its copper ring glowed blue, pulling a thin ribbon of black smoke away from the coughing workers. The light ran low along the service threshold, over the salt dust, past the filter-weight drag marks, and stopped at the red-gold envoy freight wax. Maeron looked down. Can the route show which envoy? It can show Seal family, Maren said. Not treaty name. Selvic seized on the limit. Then this is diplomatic speculation. Maren did not look away from the wax. Diplomacy is what men call theft when foreign witnesses are watching. The gallery tightened. Maeron's eyes moved to her, not softly, warningly. Maren accepted the danger and kept reading. The wax is red, gold because it passed through treaty handling, but the undercoat is ash green. Selvic's face changed. Only a little. Enough. Maeron saw it. What does ash green mean? He asked. Maren held the old mask closer to the wax stain. The blue seam pulsed once, and the red-gold surface thinned in the light, showing a dull green crescent beneath. Vent-safe freight, she said. Not decorative freight. Not incense. Not silk screens. Selvic recovered quickly. Foreign envoys carry their own breathing equipment. Their lands have different smoke customs. The Air Office often exchanges samples for compatibility. Samples fit in hand cases, Maren said. This crate dragged like full wall packs. The mask inhaled again. The blue light followed the scrape marks deeper into the corridor, and then bent up toward a narrow side stair used by treaty couriers, not lower workers. Maren stepped toward it. A guard moved to block her. Maren did not stop him. Maren looked at the king, a hard, flat look. He had asked for answers, while still letting others choose how far she could walk toward them. A blocked route does not become safe because the order is royal, she said. Maeron's jaw tightened. Then he looked at the guard. Move. The guard stepped aside. Not apology. Not enough. Maren passed him and crouched at the base of the courier stair. The smoke was thinner there. Too thin. Safe filters had passed this way recently, dragging clean air with them like stolen mercy. On the third step, a small strip of blue-gray ash cloth had caught under a splinter. Maren lifted it carefully. Her fingers trembled. Not from fear. Recognition. I cut this edge, she said. Selvic exhaled through his nose. Workers cut many edges. This one has 4th pillar salt width. Maeron's eyes narrowed. From the missing filters? Yes. The old mask's copper ring pulsed toward the scrap. Blue fire moved through the frayed threads and revealed 3 marks. Salt lining, ember seam, and a narrow black stamp shaped like a hooked wing. Maren's stomach tightened. Not emberfall, she said. Selvic spoke too quickly. Envoy equipment marks are not crimes. No, Maren said. But they are destinations. Maren stepped closer to the stair. Smoke caught at his throat again, and pain flashed once across his face before he controlled it. Maren saw the old wound under his collar tighten. He needed a mask. He knew it. So did she. The last gray mask in the basket sat behind them beside a fainting hall boy. Maren turned, took it, and gave it to the boy. Maeron watched without speaking. Good, she thought. Learn the order. Selvic saw the exchange and lowered his voice. Your Majesty. She is turning necessity into insult. Maren looked back. No. Necessity was always insulted first. The mask in her hand inhaled hard enough to shake the ash cloth scrap. The hooked wing stamp burned clearer. One of the treaty clerks near the stair whispered, Veyrath envoy Mark. Selvic turned on him. Silence. Maeron's gaze fixed on the clerk. Say it again. The clerk swallowed. Veyrath envoy Mark, Your Majesty. Their delegation requested private air accommodations for the treaty banquet. Selvic gave a controlled nod. As high envoys often do. Maren looked at the strip of filter cloth. Private air accommodations do not require lower gallery-safe filters unless someone sold them what the workers needed. Selvic's voice hardened. Sold is a dangerous word. So is breathe, Maren said. When you have none left. The old mask pulsed toward the courier stair. Blue light climbed 3 steps, then 5, then 7, forming a path through the smoke-thinned air. It did not open a crate. It did not name Selvic. It did not clear Maeron for approving the gold. It only followed breath trace. Old warning, missing rack, copied mark, cargo route, envoy wax, 4th pillar cloth, Veyrath stamp. Maren read the order aloud. The safe filters left the lower gallery after the warning. They did not go to upper reserve. They went through envoy freight. The cloth carries Veyrath mark. Selvic's polished collar bells remained too still. Maren looked toward the upper hall, where foreign envoys were waiting under clean air. His voice did not soften. Bring the Veyrath freight chest, Selvic moved. Your Majesty, opening envoy freight during the Dragon Treaty reception could break diplomatic protection. Maren turned to Maeron. Leaving workers without breath already broke palace law. For one breath, the king looked at her, as if the words had struck the hidden scar in his throat. Then he looked at the guards. Bring it. Selvic's face went pale around the mouth. The guards ran up the courier stair. The gallery waited in coughing silence. When they returned, they carried a narrow black chest bound in red gold envoy wax. Cold, clean air leaked from its seams. Maren did not need the mask to know, but she held it near anyway. The copper ring flared blue so bright, the cracked golden masks reflected it like broken moons. The red gold wax softened. Under the treaty seal, ash-green vent-safe marks appeared in a hidden row. Maren's throat burned. Not from smoke this time, from fury. The blue fire drew one clean line across the chest lid. Safe filters delivered to Veyrath envoy freight before lower gallery workers were issued masks. The coughing below them sounded suddenly louder than the treaty horns above. Maren looked from the chest to Selvic Dravelle. His voice did not soften. Who authorized my workers' breath as envoy property? Selvic Dravelle stepped toward the Veyrath chest as if proximity could turn theft into procedure. The black chest sat on the lower gallery floor, with cold, clean air leaking from its seams. Red gold treaty wax clung to the lid. Beneath that wax, ash-green vent-safe marks glowed in a hidden row, bright enough for every coughing worker to see what had been taken from the wall built to protect them. Safe filters delivered to Veyrath envoy freight before lower gallery workers were issued masks. Dragon King Maeron Dravelle looked at the line, then at Selvic. His voice did not soften. Who authorized my workers' breath as envoy property? Selvic bowed deeply enough to look wounded by the question. No one authorized breath as property, Your Majesty. The Veyrath delegation requested sealed air accommodations under treaty courtesy. The Air Office provided compatible filtration equipment in exchange for diplomatic stability. Maren Thorne's fingers tightened around the old ash breath mask. Compatible filtration equipment, she said, was fourth pillar safety stock. Selvic turned to her. A lower gallery worker cannot define treaty stock. No, Maren said. I can define what was missing when poison came. The old mask inhaled. Its copper ring glowed blue, pulling smoke from the air between them. The servants wearing Maren's masks breathed in rough rhythm now, each inhale a small defiance against the gold mouths hanging split and useless on the wall. Maeron looked at the Veyrath chest. Open it. Selvic moved sharply. Your Majesty, if you break envoy freight under active treaty horns, the Veyrath delegation may withdraw. Maren did not look at the king kindly. Your workers may withdraw from breathing first. A guard stiffened. Maeron did not. The scar at his throat had gone pale again, and the black smoke kept touching his collar. He needed a mask. He had needed one for several minutes. Maren had none left to give him. He had approved that shortage. Open it, he said. 2 guards broke the softened wax. The chest lid lifted. Clean air spilled out. Inside, wrapped in pale ashcloth sleeves, lay 3 safe filter packs cut to the narrow curve of the 4th pillar vent. Maren knew them immediately. She knew the uneven left seam, the doubled salt fold, the small blue knot she tied on filters meant for wet poison. She had made those knots because the 4th pillar wall turned crooked behind old brick and factory-cut filters did not sit tight enough. The gallery stared. Selvic spoke quickly. Spare compatibility samples. The Air Office may lend non-essential filters to important guests. Maren stepped closer to the chest, not beside Maren, past him. A movement like that would once have had guards seizing her arm. Now no one touched her. She looked at the filters. Known essential stock does not carry old warning salt. Maeron's eyes narrowed. Read it. Selvic's expression hardened. The filters are wrapped. They cannot react while sealed. Maren looked at him. They already are. The ashcloth sleeves were pale on top, but the underside of the first pack had burned faintly blue near the seam. Not bright, not dramatic. Work did not always scream when wronged. Sometimes it only marked where someone had moved it away from danger. Maren held the old mask over the open chest. The mask inhaled. The blue ring flared, and the wrapped filters answered with 3 small pulses. Salt lining. Ember seam. Wet poison warning. The packs were active when removed, Maren said. Selvic's jaw tightened. Filter residue remains active after safe removal. Safe removal cools blue to gray. She pointed to the glowing seam. This stayed blue because the wall was still warning. Maren looked at Selvic. Who signed the envoy release? Selvic drew himself straighter. Treaty release forms are handled by courier office. Maren leaned toward the chest lid. Not for vent safe stock. A narrow cord hung inside the lid, half hidden under the wax fold. It was blue-gray, twisted with a silver Air Office thread. Maren knew those cords, too. Every filter pack leaving its assigned wall carried one, tied by the responsible warden. She lifted it with 2 fingers. Selvic's face changed. Barely. Enough. Release cord, she said. Maren looked at the cord. Name? Not name first, Maren said. Order first. She held the cord near the mask. The copper ring breathed once. Blue light moved along the twisted fibers and stopped at 3 knots. Wall warning, stock removal, envoy sealing. Then, a 4th knot appeared. Gold. Maren's stomach went cold. Ceremonial replacement order, she said. Selvic's voice sharpened. Of course, replacement followed removal. The wall needed equipment. No, Maren said. The replacement was not filter equipment. She looked back at the cracked golden masks along the breathing wall. Their dragon mouths had split open in a row of beautiful failures. The golden masks were ordered after the safe filters left. Selvic stepped toward her. The golden masks were approved for appearance before any vent concern arose. Maren held up the cord. The old mask inhaled harder. Blue light ran from the release cord to the nearest broken golden mask, then back to the open Veyrath chest. Breath trace, not prophecy. Handling, not confession. Sequence, not mercy. Maeron watched every movement. His voice was low. Can it show who tied the release cord? It can show hand pressure, Maren said. Not intent. Selvic seized on it. Then intent remains unknown. Maren looked at him. Intent is what men argue after workers stop breathing. The cord shuddered. The silver thread tightened into the shape of a seal pressed by gloved fingers. The polished vent bells on Selvic's collar rang once, then again. No wind touched them. Maren read the pressure mark. Air Warden hand. Selvic laughed, brittle now. I am the Air Warden. My hand appears on half the gallery's safety records. Yes, Maren said. And this hand tied the envoy release before the golden masks were approved. The old mask inhaled one more time. The chest, the release cord, the cracked golden masks, and the fourth pillar maintenance slate all flared blue-white together. They did not name Selvic as thief. They did not save the treaty. They did not forgive Maeron for choosing ceremony over safety. They showed sequence. A line of blue fire burned across the open Veyrath chest lid. Safe filters released to Veyrath under Air Warden hand before golden masks were ordered. The lower gallery went silent, except for breathing. Selvic's face lost its polish. Maeron looked from the burning line to the gold masks that had replaced the missing filters. His voice did not soften. Who ordered beauty to cover an empty, breathing wall? Selvic Drael's collar bells rang once more. Not from wind, not from breath. From the release cord still trembling in Maren Thorne's hand. Safe filters released to Veyrath under Air Warden hand before golden masks were ordered. The line burned blue-white across the open Veyrath chest while the 3 safe filters lay inside it, wrapped and useless to the choking workers they had been cut to protect. Along the breathing wall, the golden ceremonial masks hung cracked in a shining row. Beautiful dragon mouths split open by poison they had never been built to stop. Dragon King Maeron Dravelle looked at them. His voice did not soften. Who ordered beauty to cover an empty breathing wall? Selvic bowed his head with careful injury. The ceremonial replacement order came through reception display authority, Your Majesty. Foreign envoys expect dignity. The lower galleries were not meant to look like a coal ward beneath a treaty hall. Maren looked at the workers, breathing through her old gray masks. Coal wards breathe, she said. Selvic's face sharpened. So does a kingdom that survives diplomacy. A kingdom that trades away its filters is not surviving. It is decorating suffocation. The old ash breath mask in Maren's hand inhaled. The copper breath ring flared blue, not toward the Veyrath chest this time, but toward the line of golden masks. The nearest broken mouth trembled on its hook. Maren's hand rose to his collar. He did not ask for a mask. He only pressed 2 fingers against the old scar at his throat, as if command could hold his lungs open. Maren saw the pain. She also saw the maid behind him slide down the wall without a mask. Maren moved past the king and caught the maid under one arm. Take mine, she said. The maid shook her head. Terrified. Breathe first. Refuse later. Maren fitted the mask to the maid's face. The copper ring glowed blue and inhaled hard. The maid's black coughing eased into ragged air. Maren watched. He did not stop her. He did not claim the mercy as his. That mattered. Not enough to become forgiveness. Selvic seized the moment. Your Majesty, she is handing out rejected equipment while envoy property sits open. If the Veyrath delegation sees this, the Dragon Treaty will fracture. Maren turned with smoke in her hair and poison raw in her chest. Let them see what their comfort cost. The old mask on the maid's face pulsed toward the golden wall. A thin thread of blue light ran from mask to mask, touching each cracked dragon mouth. Under the gold, something appeared. A pale display seal pressed beneath the hinge of every ceremonial piece. Maren stepped closer. Display order, she said. Maren looked at Selvic. Read it. Selvic's mouth tightened. Display orders are ceremonial, not safety records. No, Maren said. That is why you hid a safety absence under one. The copper rings on the old masks inhaled together. Blue light moved through the lower gallery in a slow, breathing rhythm. Workers, old masks. Fourth pillar vent, empty filter rack. Veyrath chest, release cord, golden mouths. Sequence, not confession, not rescue, not absolution. Maren read the marks as they formed beneath the gold. Safe filters removed. Wall left empty. Golden masks ordered. Reception display authority placed over missing safety stock. Selvic lifted his chin. The gold masks were never meant to replace wall filters. They were ceremonial face coverings. Maren looked at him. Then why were they hung on the breathing wall? Selvic did not answer quickly enough. The lower workers heard the silence. So did Maren. The mask on the maid's face inhaled again, and blue fire burned along the gold display seals. One by one, the ceremonial masks cracked wider, revealing hollow interiors. No ashcloth, no salt layer, no filter seam. Maren's voice stayed low. You made them look like protection from a distance. Selvic's control broke at the edges. Because the wall could not stand empty before foreign courts. Because servants panic when they see safety equipment removed. Because kings do not open treaties under gray scraps and exposed filter racks. Maeron's face went still. You knew the rack was empty. Selvic said nothing. The old masks breathed. Maren did not move. Let silence count him. Selvic's polished collar bells began to ring, one by one. 7 tiny sounds, bright and thin, each answering the blue fire crawling across the release cord. The Air Warden's hand seal appeared under the final gold mask. Then another mark appeared beside it, Veyrath freight seal, and beneath that, a small cut of ash-green cord, tied around a filter price tag. Not coin magic, not ledger fire, a shipping tag. Maren looked at it, and felt something cold settle in her ribs. You sold them. Selvic's eyes flashed. I traded surplus safety stock for treaty influence. Fourth pillar filters are not surplus. They were replaceable. By what? His gaze flicked to the cracked golden masks. The whole gallery saw it. The blue fire burned the final line across the breathing wall. Golden ceremonial masks, ordered to hide safe filters sold from the lower smoke galleries. For a moment, even the treaty music above seemed to falter. Maren looked at the workers, the empty rack, the open Veyrath chest, and Maren standing with no mask left for herself. His throat tightened. Not from smoke alone. He turned to the guards. Seal the Veyrath freight. Return every safe filter to the fourth pillar. Remove Selvic Drael's collar. Selvic staggered back. Your Majesty, the treaty will wait for air. The words struck the lower smoke gallery like a door opening. 2 guards stepped forward and unclasped Selvic's polished collar. The 7 vent bells rang as they left his throat, then fell silent in the guards' hands. Maren looked at Maren. Can the fourth pillar be made safe? Yes, she said. After the workers are masked and the vent is shut from below, do it. She did not move. Maren understood the refusal before she spoke. Maren's voice was hoarse. Not the nobles first, not the envoys, not you. His eyes held hers. She lifted her soot-stained chin. Lower gallery workers breathe first. The command waited in him. She saw it. Then he swallowed it. As breath law requires, he said. That was not apology. Better than apology. Obedience to the thing he had ignored. Maren turned away and began handing orders to the people who knew the gallery by lungs, not title. The scarred junior warden closed the fourth pillar draft. 2 servants carried the safe filters from the Veyrath chest. The kitchen runner fastened salt linings with shaking hands. The old masks inhaled and passed breath from one worker to another until the black smoke thinned from oil dark to gray. Only then did Maren lift a mask toward Maren. He did not take it. "After them," he said. She looked at him for a long breath, then handed it to the last coughing stairboy instead. A faint, pained smile touched nothing on Maren's face, but something in his eyes accepted the debt. By dusk, the Dragon Treaty reception had not opened under gold. It opened under law. The foreign envoys entered the upper hall after walking past the lower smoke galleries first, where gray ash-breath masks hung openly beside every vent and safe filters sat exposed in their racks for inspection. The breathing wall was no longer hidden behind ceremonial mouths. Selvic Dravelle stood stripped of collar beneath guard, the Veyrath chest sealed as evidence beside him. Maeron addressed the court from the lower gallery, not the throne dais. "Vent safety stands above treaty display," he said. "No reception, feast, crown right, or envoy honor will open while lower workers breathe unprotected. No ceremonial replacement may cover empty safety equipment. No Air Warden may remove filters without worker witness." The nobles did not cheer. Maren preferred that. Cheers were easy. Breath was harder. Maeron turned to her then, in front of envoys, nobles, servants, and wardens. Maren Thorne kept this palace breathing, while I approved what looked better than it worked. The words did not mend her lungs. They did not erase 9 years of poison caught in ashcloth or the moment he had ordered her masks removed. Maren looked at him steadily. "Then, make the law breathe when I am not standing here." He bowed his head. "Not deeply. Enough. I will." The old ash-breath masks along the wall inhaled together, copper rings glowing blue in a slow, steady rhythm. Not choosing her, not crowning her, only remembering what they had always remembered. Poison caught, salt burned, lungs spared. Maren stood below the treaty hall, with soot in her hair and smoke scars in her chest. This time, no one asked her work to look beautiful. They asked it how to live.